There's a new buzzword called Netflix syndrome, and it refers to users that actually spend more time choosing the content than actually watching it. I think that happens because we have way too many options nowadays. This is also known as the paradox of choice. It says that when we are presented with fewer choices, it's actually easier for us to make a decision, and we're more likely to feel good about that decision. But when presented with way too many options, it's a lot harder to make that decision, and chances are we're not going to feel as good about that decision. Basically, the more choices we have, the more we struggle to choose. And I don't know if I'm just tired of my music or just overwhelmed by the amount of music that I could be listening to. So instead, I just go to YouTube for some videos. And I guess there is some decision fatigue involved because whenever I have the power to choose my music, I don't feel as fulfilled using Spotify as I do when I use my iTunes library, which is such a limited library consisting of this many albums right now. Maybe I just hate having to make all those decisions all the time. Who knows? But it kind of makes sense, because I might skip through all my music library using Spotify, but whenever I'm at a coffee shop and one of those songs comes up, I just vibe to it and I just have such a good time listening to that song. It's just such a different feeling when it's not up to you, when it's not your decision to put on the music. So I guess I just hate having an unlimited amount of music to listen to. Yeah, reflecting on my own music consumption habits, I often find myself caught in what I believe is the Spotify syndrome. Because of the vast selection of music that I have access to, I often feel overwhelmed and unsatisfied with my choices. I always think that I could listen to something else, but I end up just listening to the same playlist every single time. And this led me to the question of whether there's a better way to curate and enjoy my music library. And that's when I discovered the joy of exploring physical record stores. I used to only collect vinyl records, as shown right here. But honestly, the soaring prices have made it kind of hard to collect because I don't have unlimited amounts of money. But then I remembered about my digital library that I used to have, and all I did was buy a lot of CDs back in the day, and I would rip those CDs to my computer and then put them in my iPod. And so that's what I decided to do. I started going to music stores looking for CDs, and going to music stores is quite the refreshing change that I needed because endless scrolling and skipping was just not doing it for me. So what I started doing was actually going to record stores and being on the lookout for albums that I have on my wish list. But what I think is more fun about this is all the surprises you can find. Because more often than not, I have actually found albums that I didn't know I was looking for, and most of the time I've come home with them because thanks to the cheaper prices that CDs offer, I can actually take a chance on an album and just buy it completely blind, like not knowing what it is. And thanks to that, I have found a couple of great albums that probably I would not have listened if not for the physical media. For example, I went looking for Alice in Chains' Facelift and Dirt albums, but what I found was actually Jar of Flies, and I did not know anything about this album. I kind of knew that it was good, but I had no idea, and I just bought it because it was very cheap, and I'm so glad that I did it. I actually like it more than the other two, and I've been listening to this thing non-stop, and that has happened multiple times. I have right here my little CD collection that I've managed to work or get and that I've managed to get during the year. And most of the albums I kind of knew, like for example, Audioslave self-titled. I obviously knew like a Stone and Show Me How to Live. But honestly, this album is way better than I thought. I first tried, I think I gave it a play on Spotify once and I just didn't get into it. But having it on my iPod, which is not really an iPod, but whatever, playing it on the car is really fun, and this album is way better than I actually thought it was. Some other albums that I got in completely blind. This, for example, I started listening to the Smashing Pumpkins, I guess late last year, maybe early this year, but I had only listened Siamese Daydream, and that's about it. I knew some songs from that album, and I think it's a really good album, but I had never listened Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. I was not looking for it, and I just stumbled upon it, and I knew I had to get it. My brother actually told me this was a great album. I kind of knew it was a cult classic, but I don't know. It's so long that I just didn't want to play it. But when I found it, I was like, damn, I have to get this. And just like the Alice in Chains record, I've been playing this non-stop, and I don't know if I like it more than Siamese Daydream because it's such a long album and there's a lot of tracks that I don't like as much. But Side A, well, disc 1, I guess, it's so good. It's so good, full of classics. If you haven't actually listened to this thing, I would recommend it so much. It was a great find. Another album that I went in completely blind actually is Blur's 13. I had no idea. I have never actually listened to anything Blur except I guess song 2. And I think I played Park Life once or maybe twice on Spotify, but I just didn't vibe to it. And this, I'm not gonna say this is one of my favorite albums, but it's a good listen. It's a good car listen. I like it a lot. I couldn't quite tell you which songs I like because you just play it in the car and I'm not looking at the track listing, but I like this one. I like to play that one in the car. This one, for example, Enema of the State. I obviously knew Adam's song and All the Small Things, but I think it's a really good album for what it's worth. I mean, Dumpweed, it's a classic. Don't Leave Me, I don't quite remember that one, but Going Away to College and What's My Age Again. Dysentery Gary, I like that song too. And Mud, I like Mud. So I just bought this because I wanted to get more into the 1990s punk. I wanted to get more into the pop punk subgenre, and what better way to do it than Blink-182? And this is a great find. But of course, not everything was a completely blind thing. I got this because I love Tame Impala and I was missing this record, and it was so dirt cheap that I just had to have it. And I'm so glad I did it. Technically, my Tame Impala collection is complete, technically, I guess. Also, I got OK Computer for dirt cheap, and it's actually my first Radiohead record that I own, and it's just a classic, man. Also, Pearl Jam's 10. I didn't go into this blindly. I knew every single track. I just didn't own a copy of this album, and I'm so glad I got it. One album that I went kind of blind in was Paramore's, what is it? Yeah, Paramore's self-titled. This one is, I guess, one of the records that I like the least, but I'm glad I got it because I wanted to get more into the pop. I wanted to get more into the emo pop, emo pop punk thing, and I like Paramore, and this one's an okay record. This one was fun. I knew 2 songs, but it is a really good album. I didn't know I liked Placebo as much as I do now. I didn't think I was gonna like it as much, but now I'm looking for more Placebo albums, and it's all because of this one, so it was a great find. Now this one, I knew most of the songs, I just wanted to get this one, and it's just a classic, a modern classic, and it was also dirt cheap, and I got it brand new, and yeah. And last but certainly not least, with the new excitement for the band, I got the first two Oasis albums. I got this brand new, both, and they were really cheap. And to be honest, this album I had just listened Slide Away, and I didn't really know the song, but it is now one of my favorite albums of all time. It's so good. If I'm saying I have played some of those records nonstop, I have actually played this nonstop. I've probably heard this album like maybe 15 times, and I got it like 2 months ago. It is so good. I love this album. Like, I get it now. I understand the hype for Oasis. I wouldn't say their songs are mind-blowing, but they just have a really good vibe. And I'm so glad that I got this. I went into this completely blind, and I'm so glad that I did it. And also this one, like, I knew obviously Wonderwall and Don't Look Back in Anger. Against all odds, I have previously I had never listened Champagne Supernova, and it's a great song. Like, I'm so glad that I got this. I like definitely maybe more, but I don't know. It's just so fun to dig into the 90s music that I didn't get the chance to dig into earlier in my life, I guess. And to get the chance to get copies of these albums for essentially $5-6 a pop, it's just amazing. And I probably wouldn't have played any of these records if I didn't actually give them a chance in the record store. And the thing is, since you're investing money into them, you kind of feel pressure to listen to them. And so that's what I think is the difference between owning your music and buying it and just paying Spotify, because you can listen to whatever the freak you want on Spotify. But here, I'm making that commitment for the album, and so it's kind of a waste of money if you don't play the album, you know? And yeah, most of the albums that I've bought during the year have been have been mostly not knowing if I would like the albums or not. And I think that's what makes the whole experience better, because I'm investing in this collection and I'm building it brick by brick, you know? And what I like the most about this is that I can have an opinion on all these records. Like, I didn't have an opinion on most of these records. Probably like Pearl Jam, Radiohead, and Tame Impala, but that was it. Like, I had no opinion. I have no knowledge of any of these records. And thanks to me going to the store and seeing them there, I gave them the chance and I have an opinion now. And that's what I like, because I want to talk about music, and I want to learn more about the music that I like, and I want to learn more about the genres and subgenres, and I don't know, just get to know more bands and more artists and more music and more albums. That's the point of all of this. So what I would like for you to do is to try and go find an album that piques your interest. Maybe invest a little, give them a chance, and I would seriously recommend starting a music collection, because I don't know, it just feels so much more personal than just making playlists on Spotify. And it also kind of makes you engage a little more with the music, you know? Each time you play the album, it feels a little bit more intentional. So I guess you're putting more attention into it. Anyway, that's it from me. My name is Rod, and this is the RSI Music. Thank you for watching.